it really your ears?
Yeah.
What is this? They're for babies.
I'm a baby.
Baby.
I'm a baby.
Merry
Christmas.
1996.
Cakes.
Are these short
Yeah.
boxers?
They're your boxers. They have your name on them.
Yeah, I'll fit you. A little big. But that's okay. I like
Are
it.
they cotton?
Give me room.
My name is Heather DeBella. I was married to Joe Henning for 12 years. Actually, it was funny because the first time I really met him, there was this girl Susie that used to like him. And she had carved like his initials with some sort of needle something or another into her arm, like JH. And I was like, who's JH? And then she's like, oh, Joe Henning. And so I was like, well, who's that? And then I had met him after that, and I was like, oh, okay, not impressed. In high school, I didn't like him. He was like the kid who was always in trouble. He was a heroin addict. Closer to the end of high school, I ran into him at a different party, and he had been clean for about a year. And then we just started talking and hit it off again from there. We were at a party, and someone got upset with him for being Jewish. And so we decided we were going to leave. And we stood up, and he was behind me. I was here. This guy who didn't like Joe for being Jewish punched him, like hit me in the head, punched him in the face, and then that just sprawled them going back and forth on the floor. And at one point, this guy had Joe pinned down and was choking him. So I jumped on the guy's back and I pulled his head back and away to get him off your dad so your dad could get up. I think in that moment, both Joe and I realized we're going to be the people we are. We're not going to have regrets. We're going to say what's on our mind. We're going to stick up for each other and for others that need
One more
it.
announcement that.
Make it close to Kurt.
Yes, make it to Kurt.
Congratulations, Kurt. Thank you, Joe. There's also something else I'd like to say. This is 1996, and it is a leap year, and many of you may know that Heather has already proposed to me. One thing that Heather does not know is that I finally bought her ring. Will you marry me?
Aww.
The wedding was good. It was a lot of fun. There was about 250 people there. And Joe, growing up Jewish, was really interesting because they put us on chairs and then they lifted us up into the air. So that was a lot of fun. He was, kind and caring. He was always there. When, Donovan and Kiki were both born, he was at every doctor's appointment, pre and post. Whatever he could participate in, he did. So he met Amanda at KinderCare, and then he moved in with her after we separated. And I remember driving to pick the kids up. He came outside. There were scratches all over his face and his arms, and I told him he needed to get away. And Joe had a hard time breaking away, and Amanda got him using drugs again within 6 months. There was a lot of bouts like that of domestic violence and drug abuse through a course of 8 years. After they separated, that's when he got clean, like really clean, and he stayed clean for almost 2 years. When Joe finally got custody of Ryder back, that's when he was going to pick him up at the custody exchange. Joe got to the McDonald's first. He asked the people behind the counter several times if they had cameras inside and outside. So then when she came in, they had this conversation at the front door, and then she was supposed to go to the car and get Ryder. Joe walked back up to the front counter and again asked if they had cameras. While he was doing that, Amanda had walked not out the door to get Ryder, but back towards the bathroom, and then stuck her hands in her pocket, in her hoodie pocket, and then came back around to the back of him, pulled out a gun and shot him 3 times in the back. He didn't let other people's expectations define him. He was always his own person, and I was too, so I think that's part of the reason why we got along really well. We weren't trying to be somebody else.
This conduit. While you smile and